welcome to a Valentine's special edition of Wacky Kitchen. Today I will show you how to make a perfect three-course meal suitable for Valentine's Day, incorporating a lot of cheesy love hearts, which is kind of the theme really. I mean, it's all about the cheesiness. I mean, it's a cheesy celebration day, so why not have a bit of fun with it, with your food.
Okay, so to butterfly your chicken, you need both chicken breasts. I mean, you can cut it off the actual chicken like I did, or it might be easier if you just buy your chicken breast, because then you'll definitely get a nice fillet rather than like I've got slightly messy ones. And as you can see, it's like a half heart shape already. What we're aiming to do is to cut it so that it will make a perfect heart shape. Try and find which is the best outside edge, which is that one, and cut from that side into the middle so that when you separate it out it makes a heart shape. If you start at the thickest end first, try and find the middle and then start it off there, and then once you've done that, if you just get it on your board, you can follow that, but don't go right the way through the meat. Try and keep some at the end so when you fold it out it remains intact. But if you keep checking on it to make sure that you're going right down the middle to make it even on both sides. Obviously mine didn't end up the tidiest because of the fillet that I started with. I mean, on one side it was a bit more scraggly than the other. Once you've butterflied your chicken breast, it's just a matter of tidying it up to make sure it's more heart shaped, for example in the middle. It could do with going down a bit further, so it helps if it isn't a gristly bit in the middle, because that's harder to cut. But once you have your basic heart shape, you can either cook it like that, which is up to you, but I'm going to show you how to make it a little bit more improved. I'm going to put this in the pan for now, just because that's where I'm going to sit it, where I'm going to chuck some things on it to marinate it and change its colour slightly. And then I'll leave that to soak up the colourings.
You'll notice that my oven in the corner is not currently there. That's because the stop button starts, well, it didn't start working on it, it stopped working on it. So the stop button doesn't work anymore and I can't turn it on without that because there was a power cut, and so I'm currently disassembling that and it's going to take a while, but if it doesn't work then I'll just have to get another.
For my marinades, I have some peri-peri sauce, but you can use, I don't know, whatever you want, as long as it's red. You know, barbecue sauce, tomato ketchup, chili sauce, you know, beetroot if you want. That's where I come to my next ingredients, which is some leftover Christmas vinegar, that's spice that my mum uses, and she throws it away after Christmas, which I think is a bit of a waste, so I've persuaded her to let me have it every year now, so I end up with all of this vinegar that's nice and spicy and, you know, it does the job. It's also good for colouring things, and because I've added some beetroot vinegar to it. And this will make your hearth more red when it soaks it up. You just massage that in a bit. And we'll leave that to soak in those juices whilst we get on with our other ingredients and preparations for this Valentine's special.
And of course desserts. I mean, you can either have what I've got in mind, which is a fondue chocolate dipping session, or you could have desserts in the bedroom.
It's important that you wash your chopping boards or surface that you've been using before going on to the next step, because you've been using raw chicken. So once you've done that, you can prepare your starter. Now, what I'm recommending is a sharing starter. I mean, I'm going to use corn tortillas and garlic and herb tortillas to make some homemade nachos. You could, if you want, just buy a pack of nachos, which would be easier, but I'm going to show you with just one of each for now, piled on top, how to make some more impressive ones. First I'm just going to cut these down the middle. Then, if you've got a heart-shaped cutter, this would be easier, but they don't have to be perfect. Just try and cut some little, obviously they're not the best, they're quite square, but you get what I'm trying to do. If you just keep making your own little homemade love heart tortilla chips. They're a bit better. Still a bit of a pointed end there, which I should really trim. I'm sure it'll be appreciated that you've made the effort to make your own from scratch, and they don't take much, just, I don't know, a bit of oil or under the grill to crisp them up like proper tortilla chips, and then spread them out on a plate, your salsa, guacamole, your cheese. I've got some spicy beef which I'm going to cook up, and a jar of red jalapeno peppers. You could use green, but I recommend red because, you know, it's Valentine's Day, so red's the theme, reds and hearts. It's a bit cheesy, but that's the whole point. Cheesy, have a laugh, and, you know, impress the lady. And yeah, you can keep going with as many as you want to make. If you had a heart-shaped cutter, like I said, it would be easier to just whip them out and have love heart-shaped, but it'll probably be appreciated more with your doing it all by hand and cheesiness. So yeah, that's the way you do that.
Now, to go on your nachos, we have red jalapeno peppers, guacamole. Obviously you need salsa as well, but I don't have that at present, but you know, for the day you will have that. I mean, you can have sour cream as well. Not essential, but I've got spicy beef, which I'm going to fry up and sprinkle around, and I'm sure you can assemble however you like, you know, but I mean, I recommend doing a small layer of the nachos, spreading a couple of the bits about. You don't have to have even amounts of everything. Another layer of the nacho crisps, tortilla chips, and then the other stuff, you know, cheese and everything, and keep going and as high as you want, but don't make it too big, like I said, keep it light, and then either grill that or microwave it to melt all the cheese and everything together, and you should be sauces.
I should add that you don't have to have nachos, but it's a sharing dish, and because it's Valentine's, I think it's more impressive, you know, you're digging in together, it's more romantic, and you can have anything really, but as long as it's something to share and rather than two separate dishes, it just adds to the atmosphere. Tortilla pieces after you've cut out your shapes. So there's no point wasting them. I'm going to turn them into little crumbs to put on the outside of my chicken, because I was planning on doing breadcrumb and flour and egg coating, but I thought, well, I might as well use these tortilla chip pieces as well to give a little extra crunch, so I'm going to add them into the mix as well, so as long as you've got room from the sides to move around. Keep going like that, you know, it'll crumb down, or if you've got a machine to crumb it up, then even better, use that. Don't try to be perfect making your breadcrumbs. I've already mixed in the tortilla pieces, but it's not essential to be perfect, because there's just no point, you know. It shows it's homemade if there's little lumps, and it's all going to cook nice, and I mean, everyone likes a bit of crispy stuff. I'm just going to add a bit of the vinegar to this, as well as a bit of the peri-peri sauce. Not too much, but just enough to give the breadcrumbs a little bit of the red colour. But you don't want them too moist, like I say. You know, don't be afraid to get your fingers in there and mix it all up. That'll probably be plenty, you know, just mix that in and make it all red, because then it'll be nice and dry still. But that'll cook up and should hopefully turn out a pinky red colour. Next you're going to want to separate your egg white from the yolk. I'm going to keep the yolk separate. It's not essential, but I just think, you know, I want to use the egg yolk for some of that. So. It's all about balancing it between the two shells until all the white has dripped off. I've got a little tub at the side ready for the yolk. And then just spread your egg white. You know, make sure it covers your chicken breasts. This may seem like it took your colour away, but I haven't really marinated this as long as I should. I've only left it about 5-10 minutes. You know, ideally you want to leave it probably overnight really to absorb all the colours. Next I'm going to add some flour onto that, so I'll just grab my flour. I haven't actually put this in a flour container as of yet, but you know, I plan to buy one, and it was a big bag of flour, 50p on the market, so I thought that was good value. But I really need to get a proper container if I'm going to do stuff like that. Make sure there's plenty of flour in there to mix with the egg and make a battery sort of thing to coat your chicken breast in. Again, don't be afraid to get messy and get it all over yourself. Obviously this could be a long time me trying to scrape this off individually, so I'll skip that bit, but you know, I'm going to use the spoon and scrape it all back onto it, because now that it's mixed up good, it's more a case of spreading it all over it. And then once you've done that, place it onto your breadcrumbs, and if you're going to use the same pan, clean your pan out, scrape it on top of your chicken at that point. Put some oil in your pan, or butter or fat, or whatever you're going to cook it with. Heat it up, preheat it, and put it in, breadcrumb side down, and then pour your remaining breadcrumbs over the top of it, and it'll crisp up the bottom breadcrumbs, and you'll also have some on top then, and that should look nice. I mean, you can add some extra flour on top of this at this point as well to give it more of a surface, especially if there aren't enough breadcrumbs. Once you have your pan up to a suitable heat, and you'll note that I didn't actually clean out my pan because, well, you know, just for the sake of making this video quicker. But I recommend that you do, because otherwise you might get burnt little clumps of stuff in there, which you don't really want if you're trying to make a nice toady little meal. But yeah, once your pan's up to heat, it's time to place your chicken on breadcrumb mixture into the pan. I recommend using the flat spatula, because then you can go right in underneath, scoop it up, and place it in breadcrumb side down. Now I recommend that you get it into your heart shape whilst you still can. Because once it's cooked, yeah, pretty much screwed and you've got whatever shape you've got then. It's all about tidying it into the heart shape. And adding whatever breadcrumbs you've got left onto your top. I didn't make enough breadcrumbs, obviously. But really you should use more than that. But as long as you've got one good presentation side with plenty of breadcrumbs on, it's not that important. Like I say, you can always add some extra flour onto it. So well and truly coat it. If you add too much, it doesn't matter, it'll just cook off anyway. But just make sure you've got enough to give your chicken a good coating. Obviously your egg and flour mix will have already coated it, but as long as you've coated it, it doesn't matter. Once you've done that, I mean, you can cook it to completion slowly in the thing, or you can sear it off at very high heat on each side and shove it under your grill. But once you've done that, if you use the same pan to put your little heart-shaped tortilla chips in to crisp them up, then, you know, it saves time and effort. And you could, if you want, dip these in the beetrooty vinegar as well to make them red tortillas and little red hearts. That's entirely up to you though.
For a lighter option, you can avoid putting the crispy coating on like I've done, because that will make it quite a heavy meal. It's rather substantial as it is. But I mean, extra crispy coating around the outside of a chicken breast that's been cut in half, that's a fair amount of coating, so it will get quite heavy, and considering I'm making this a 3-course meal, then it's best to keep it light. And yeah, whatever you do choose for your starter and dessert, I mean, it's entirely up to you. You don't have to follow what I'm recommending here, but keep it light. You know, you don't want to be full and not in the mood for le more, you know, whatever language you want to speak. French is traditional, but yes, you know, just don't fill yourself up.
Now while that is cooking off, I shall be making some potatoes for mashing. Easier if you have it directly in front of you when you're creating your waste. If you have a speed peeler, it makes the job so much easier. I mean, there's no point these days in peeling it with a knife when you can just use a speed peeler and get it done in a fraction of the time. The knife wastes a lot more of your potato as well. Whereas the speed peeler, you've got control, it only takes a little bit off the surface. And if you're making crisps as well from potatoes, you can just use a peeler like this and peel off little flakes to put in your oil, make crisps. Obviously they won't keep as long as supermarket ones will, but they do the job. Make sure that you keep an eye on your chicken as well whilst you're doing any other jobs, just to make sure, because you don't want it burns. obviously I've cooked this on a couple of minutes on each side now, and you want to make sure to reform your heart shape every time you flip it to keep all the hard work that you've put into it. And keep it in a nice heart shape. Obviously this hasn't gone as red as I had plans, but you can always add your red liquids afterwards to regain its red colour. And perhaps if I'd left things to soak a bit longer in marinade, it might have gone a bit redder, and the breadcrumbs, especially in the flour, I could have dyed that red, but it will do, you know. It's all about having a nice heart-shaped meal, but the red you can add after with more sauce. Once you've peeled your potatoes, it's time to cut them, ready for boiling, because I'm going to make mashed potato. Obviously, it's an accompaniment. You can have whatever accompaniment you desire. You can have it with pasta, rice, whatever you feel like. Roast potatoes, chips, whatever your partner would prefer, preferably. I mean, if you're having roast potatoes, you could cut them into little heart shapes if you want. You could do little heart shaped chips. You could arrange your pasta in heart shape. If you know how to cut your own pasta, then you could cook little pasta hearts. And, you know, little ravioli heart pockets. The choices are endless, really. It's just whatever takes your imagination. And I cut my potatoes into tiny, tiny little squares. They don't have to be all perfectly the same size. Just as long as, you know, it's a relatively similar size, and the smaller you cut them, the faster they'll cook. I mean, obviously if you're going to cut them tiny, you're going to want it on a high heat, but if you have them bigger, you're going to want it on a lower heat so they cook through the middle, rather than just wasting away the outside and leaving the middle raw. Whereas I like to cook mine on a high heat, so if you have tiny little squares, they'll cook evenly and quickly, and they'll be ready to smash in no time. Now I'm gonna do a neat little trick with my mash once they're cooked. And some people like to soak the mash beforehand, the potatoes beforehand, to get all the potato starch out. It all depends on what variety of potato really, and like whether you want to do that. I keep mine with all the starch in because I use the cooked out potato starch to make gravy and stuff. So, you know, to save the cooking of the potatoes, you can make it into gravies, sauces. Quite useful, and you know, it tastes nice. Gravy granules, if you're using gravy granules, tastes a lot nicer. And if you're making homemade gravy by using the meat from a roast and chucking it in there, it thickens it nicely, and you know, just makes it whole rather than just hot water in meat juices and all that. So yeah, once your chicken's cooked or you've put it onto the grill, just place your little heart-shaped tortillas into your oil to crisp them up. I mean, obviously I've got potatoes there boiling away, ready to mash. But yeah, put your heart-shaped tortillas. I mean, it doesn't have to be in too hot oil, because if you put them in too hot oil, they'll burn rather than crisp up. So gentle, heated oil until they're, you know, crispy. They might curl up into different shapes, but just cook them till they're done, and then put them on the plate to the sides. I mean, if you're lazy, you don't have to make a million of these. You could just do a few for the decoration and open a pack and all the tortilla chips that are already crispy, and just, you know, mix them in with that, and you know, it looks like you've made the effort. And no one wants to make a million of these to make a sharing class with, do they? But yeah, and if you're putting your chicken in the grill, I mean, I'd recommend wrapping it in foil as well so that it wouldn't burn the outside after you've crisped it up here. And it also helps keep the juice in and cook it nicely. Once your tortilla chips are cooked, they may all be different colours, and, you know, that's acceptable. Leave them to dry, because obviously while they're still warm they'll still be flexible, but once they cool down and dry out, then they'll be nice and crisp and ready for you to use in your tortilla chips. Obviously I haven't made that many at the moment, but if you get the idea from that, and like I say, you can just shove a whole pack of normal tortilla chips in there and save you some effort, and use these ones as decoration around the outside and just to make it look nice and, you know, heart shapes, and to just give the impression that you're trying to put across. And I recommend you preparing everything the day before, apart from obviously the mashed potato, you do that on the day, but I mean your bread, your chicken, and like pre-cook it most of the way and like heat it through on the day, you know. So if you do everything the day before, you're spending more time with your partner rather than in the kitchen faffing about and pissing about like this. Which the idea is to spend it based on your partner rather than cooking in the kitchen, because you don't really want to be doing this on Valentine's Day, do you know? Now I'm going to show you a quick addition I'm going to add to the meal for an extra. I mean, you can put whatever vegetables and stuff you want with this, like onions and stuff, but I'm also going to make a little heart shape cheese to go on top. I mean, with balsam it's easy because it's already round, and it's just a matter of finding the cheese shape within it, and because it's cheese, you know, you don't even need to cut it particularly much, you can just squeeze it into shape. Obviously you need to cut the big lip out the one end, but once you've done that, it'll fairly easily take its own shape, and place that on top of your chicken when it's done, and it's another little extra heart. Now that our potato is cooked, I've pre-sliced some onion into the other pan that we use. I mean, you don't have to, but I wanted to make an oniony gravy, so that's what I've done. I mean, you can have your veg separate, however you like, but I'm putting mine as just onions into the gravy. Grab your colander and your cooked potatoes and pour over the top of the pan. And you can pre-cook your onions if you want, but I mean, I like mine quite raw and in there, so I'm not bothering with that. Over the top like that to carry it to your sink. Why am I taking it to the sink? You will see in a second. Once you're at your sink, you can place that there like that. Fill about 3/4 of your pan with cold water and pour quickly over the top of your potatoes and shake. I mean, it may seem a bit stupid, but I find that if you do that it gets more moisture out of your potato. I don't know, perhaps it's the cold hitting the hot that forces more water out of it, and with mashed potato the aim is to get as much moisture out as possible to replace with butter on your flavourings. Now I've already cooked the little nib of balsam that we had left over from making a heart shape, and also some salt and pepper in there. Now it's time to add your butter. That may seem a lot, but it'll all get absorbed into these potatoes and make it really nicely flavoured. Now I like these hand mashers because it mashes it in much better and you get a much smoother mixture. Obviously it doesn't matter if you make a bit of a mess, but it's always good. I'm going to pause this here now, because while it's still warm I want to add my gravy granules to this liquid here. Obviously I can add more in a bit when I reheat it back up, but just for now, whilst I'm doing the mash, you know, it's good to have it absorbing in, and it doesn't matter if you get it into your mash, because I'm not fussy and no one is. It's not going to be noticeable when you're having it with the gravy anyway. What does it matter? Once you've got that thoroughly mashed, a little bit of extra mash on here helps to thicken this up, and just give it a stir, and if it doesn't seem thick enough then you're going to want to add more gravy granules, but this looks like it's doing the job, you know. So just heat that through. Then it's time to serve.
It's worth noting that garlic and onion breath aren't an issue when you're both eating it, but if just one of you is, you might want to cut out the amount of onion and garlic I've put into it, but like I said, everything's interchangeable and it's just suggestions for Valentine's ideas and not a set menu. I mean, cooking, it isn't about following instructions. Baking maybe, you know, desserts and stuff, but true cooking, it comes from the heart and not about following step-by-step instructions. And it's quite good that my heart came out quite big, because, you know, if you're going to give a heart a big heart, it shows you care more. Which is cheesy, I know, but it's the theme here, so. And yeah, with the desserts as well, you can have a choice of different chocolates and melt them in together, like white chocolate, dark chocolate, milk chocolate. And if you do mix the milk and the white chocolate, you end up with like a caramel style flavour, which works well, and just make sure you have plenty of variety and keep it fun. I mean, you can have some popping candy in there as well, which, I mean, that has uses in the bedroom as well, because they do sell adult popping candy with instructions as to what to do to make use of it, but just use your imagination.
And to serve this I'm going to be using a potato roaster. Now I could have used this to mash with, but I find that they're quite useless at mashing. It just rises through, and as you can see the holes are fairly big and you still end up with big chunks of your potato in there, so I'd rather mash it first with a proper masher, make sure it's well and truly mashed, and put it through this to make it look nice. Plus also you don't want to sit there all day loading tiny bits of mash, putting it through 6 times, because it will, you know, you can't put much in it, and once you have it, get over your plate, just rice it through. Going to put a little bit extra on that. But slightly to the sides. Now that I have it like that, I will, without disturbing it too much, I'm going to need a little bit more, I believe. soft at the bottom here. Place it into a nice heart shape, ready for our chicken. It's time to add it to the plates. Obviously it's looking very large, but remember it is just one chicken breast, and if you arrange it the opposite way to the other heart, then it makes a bit of difference and makes it look nicer. I mean, just make sure that it's still heart shaped, and put your sauce over the top and just spread it in a bit to make it look red again. Obviously you don't have to, but it's just a nice additional touch. And if you get your little hearted boursin and put it going the other way again, it may melt into it, but if you serve it quick it's not so much of a big deal. And then if you have your gravy, just go around the edge a little bit. You can keep it just to one side, or you can go around the entire place. Obviously make sure there's enough for whoever it is, you know, however much they like it. You're not in a restaurant, you don't have to be punchy about it, it's about having a good meal. Obviously that's quite a fair bit on that plate, and it may make a bit of a mess, but you know. And that was our Valentine's special. Obviously I'm not going to eat the entire 3-course meal to myself pre-Valentine's Day, that would be a bit ridiculous, but I might as well eat this as I've cooked it now, and you can prepare the chicken in advance like I say, and the rest on the day. I mean, you can prepare the tortillas in advance as well. And for dessert I recommend something like a chocolate fondue. You could either use a fondue set if you've got one, or warm a bowl of chocolate over some pan and then put that in the middle of the table and dip whatever you want into it. Any fruit, biscuits, you know, just anything, and sensual to feed the other person, you know, it makes it romantic. And I mean, you can have squirty cream and take it elsewhere. That is entirely up to you. Enjoy your meal and have a nice Valentine's Day.